What's a job that most people wouldn't know actually exists? Once got paid for a month of 40-hour work weeks for sitting at a gate and watching to make sure no cows got out. I was a bovine identification and exit prevention specialist. Never saw a freaking cow. Read some good books, though. If you're old enough, you remember little 3x5 index cards in the card catalog. Used to find the books on the shelves in a library. I typed those little cards. When certain, highly expensive pieces of jewelry are sold to buyers in different countries, say a $300,000 watch, for example, oftentimes the company selling the watch will send someone to wear it on the plane over to said buyer country, since to import it would cost them a lot in taxes, but to pay for someone to wear it as their own watch costs significantly less. London Underground employs people to walk along their lines above ground and look for building sites they haven't been told about. Anyone building anything nearby is supposed to consult them at the planning stage, but sometimes these things slip through and it's better to catch it at that stage rather than have someone drill into a line. Makes sense when you think about it, but not a job I'd ever thought of. Not sure whether it's one person's full-time job or a shift that people rotate through. Food expert witness. Some guy gets paid around $300 an hour to explain food to a jury. I was really shocked to learn that it wasn't Anthony Bourdain. Underwear cockroach inspector. Guy or gal in a factory, inspecting garments for insects before they get shipped out to the retailers. It's a thing. A person who travels around checking that gas stations actually pump 1 gallon of gas when the pump shows that 1 gallon has been pumped. Friend of a friend in Nashville just writes hooks. He gets sent partially finished songs, a beat or a verse, and writes a hook to it. I think in general most everyday listeners will be surprised to know how many different hands and minds are often involved in top 40 music. A friend of mine's grandfather worked as a parachute tester in World War I, back before technology and safety regulations were a thing. If you're white and happen to be in China, you can do white monkey gigs. That's the term used to describe jobs in which white people are hired by Chinese companies to do random jobs to enhance its image. Foreigners equals international equals connection equals money. These jobs include pretending to play instruments in a fake band at gigs, being a fake emissary of Barack Obama, pretending to live at a luxury apartment complex, posing as the company director at a ribbon-cutting ceremony, nodding and smiling at business meetings. I once met a woman from China at the airport in Frankfurt while waiting for my plane. When I asked her what her plans in Europe were, she told me she is a personal shopper. Apparently many companies won't ship to a lot of places in China and the people there don't trust that the local shops actually sell the original products and instead sell knockoffs of name brand fashion merchandise. Additionally, Chinese men often won't let their wives travel without them, so the wives can't go shop for themselves. Instead they hire someone else to travel to places like Paris, New York or California and give them a list of dresses, purses, etc. that they want. Sounded like an awesome job to me. Get paid to travel and shop. She said she made decent money, too, and that often, her customers would pay for her to buy things for herself on top of that as a tip. Our side of the office is IB Human Research. Across the aisle are our IACUC friends. Once had a study where Group A had to wear the same white shirt 24/7 for a whole week. No showering or washing of any kind. No deodorants. No perfumes. They have to record every item of food and drink they consumed while wearing the shirt. Then turn in the shirt in a Ziploc bag. Group B had to sniff these shirts and answer survey questions. That's probably the most out there study I can remember. I'm a prop shopper for a popular TV show. Basically I show up to work. The designer will tell me that the show needs a specific prop for the taping and it's my job to go buy or rent it. It's a fun job, because they ask you to get ridiculous stuff sometimes and it's a challenge to find it. I used to work as a book conservator. I sat around and fixed books. It's sort of like being a doctor, but for books. All sorts of bad things can happen to a book. Most of them get broken spines, their pages get ripped or fall out, their covers come off, dogs chew on them, or some mayhap cuts all the nudie pictures out of them. Book conservators fix them up and send them back out. Book conservators do other things too. Many books printed in the 20th century were printed on acidic paper. The acid in the paper eats up the fibers and the book falls to dust. This is called brittle book syndrome, sort of like boneritis. Book conservators can also take these books apart and have the pages scanned so the information isn't lost. Book conservators put protective covers on pamphlets, sheet music, magazines, and stabilize single sheet printing. Head conservation experts will work on really old stuff like medieval manuscripts, papyrus, and other special collections type of material. Finally, book conservationists step in during disasters and try to limit the damage, especially with water events. The books get dried out to prevent mold formation, although if mold sets in, conservationists vacuum it out and rebind the volume. Bad things are always happening to books and being a book conservator is really satisfying. I wish I still did it. It was my favorite job in the world. Ballet class pianist. I think the only people that know about my job are dancers teachers. Basically I sit in for the hour-and-a-half class and play short songs for the students to dance to. The main difficulty is picking the right song for a given combination. 3-stroke 4 or 4-stroke 4, smooth or percussive, accent on the first last beat. Also, the measures have to be a multiple of 16 or it won't fit and the dancers get confused and the teacher looks at me angrily and I can't sleep at night. Really fun job though. Most teachers will let you play whatever you want, as long as it works for the dance. I'll go from a Chopin nocturne to ragtime to improvising to Final Fantasy X to Gershwin. And look at pretty dancers. Surprisingly, no one wants to hear anything from the Nutcracker. They've all heard it a few thousand times and are heartily sick of it. I compose music and design sound effects for slots. I live in Vegas, but still, few people outside of the slot industry know my job exists. Makes for a bit of interesting conversation. When companies have paperwork that they want to make digital, the documents need to be scanned. Before this can happen, someone needs to go through all of the documents and remove every single staple. And that's how I spent my summers while I was in college. I actually liked it quite a bit though. There was a trip club with a pin shop and private viewing booths near my work. We had a delivery nearby, and one of our drivers would stop about 5 AM in their parking lot and take smoke breaks, or so he said. Apparently one day he got there a little earlier than normal, and there was a girl driving around the parking lot picking up used condoms. And that was her job. Every night, she would be on cleaning detail at the club, and about 3 AM she'd go outside to pick up the used condoms in the parking lot for an hour. Our driver talked to her and she said it was pretty disgusting, but she was just trying to pay the bills. So that girl's job became known as the worst job in the world. Whenever people got really down about working for our company, it was always nice to have that story to throw out there. It was an immediate morale booster. I met a professional alpaca shaver when I was on holiday last month. He told me he gets about $35 per shaved alpaca. Fun fact. Alpacas make a cute humming sound and only poop in certain areas in an effort to stay clean. Trucking companies employ people whose job it is to recover abandoned trucks and cargo. Apparently truckers will just be like frick it and leave their trucks and trailers on the side of a road. These companies pay pretty well and you are on call 24/7. But they fly you all over the country to retrieve their stuff and pay well. Sounds kinda neat really. It's not really a normal job, but my entire job responsibility is to change light bulbs around campus. A normal shift for me involves driving out to 2 or 3 buildings and replacing all the light bulbs in the building, whether they are burnt out or not. I do it on a rotating 6-month schedule. I'm also on call if there are any light bulbs reported as burned out. I don't fix broken ballasts or sockets. The job belongs to someone else. I only replace bulbs. My dad used to shoot wildlife, mainly birds, that would wander on airport runways. He was replaced with a falcon. My father is an architect. He employs someone whose entire job is to straighten his lines. I've worked at radio stations before. We have a guy whose entire job is to decide when we play each particular song. It's not random or the DJ deciding to play the music, rather a pretty exact science with specialized software and a ton of rules to create the perfect mix. There are guys on call 24/7 to pick up organs from a donor at the hospital and drive it to the airport. I know a guy who did this for years and made bank. He had a specialist to show to police if he was caught speeding. The thing that drove him to quit was a work friend of his who didn't keep it quiet. The friend told everyone about his cool job and cooler of kindness and such. He nearly got killed when someone robbed him for the organs. Not long after that happened, my guy had a flight cancel and he had to take a cooler with a heart back to his house. Not long after that he decided it wasn't worth the risk to his family. It's cheaper to have one person digitally paint over and remove a boner in post than it is to hold production on a film set. Some people call it scrotoscoping. I seriously have the job of trying to contact people who place orders on a very popular website and then try to cancel their card before it actually gets charged. See, we don't charge until right before the item ships, which is sometimes a day or two. Some people have figured out that occasionally, not even close to every time, but occasionally one will slip out and ship before we've actually charged the card. There are literally thousands of people out there who go on our site, make a purchase, and then try to cancel or somehow block the charge going through and hope that the product will ship out. I call 2540 people per day trying to get them to update their payment method. Sometimes it's honestly innocent and you can always tell, like their card expired or got lost during the interim. But most of them play stupid and hang up on you. Also, it's my job to investigate people who say they never received their shipment and ask for a refund reship. No, this is not loss prevention. Loss prevention is its own separate department. I'm in a department called exceptions.